mother had too about a great uncle, and I don't think it was my great uncle because she was telling the story to my father that one of her uncles went over a drawbridge as it had come up and started opening and managed to jump between the two sides of it and come down on the other side. But I have no idea.
In a vehicle or a
in
horse?
A vehicle.
Or great uncle.
I don't know. Anyway, I remember that much of the story. I have no idea who that was.
So did your father have siblings?
No, he's an only child.
He's an only child. I guess married only once, pretty young.
Well, he's in his middle 20s when he got married.
Seems
Married once, yeah. They stayed together forever. They split up once, and he went back to Norfolk, Virginia to look about the job about being in charge of the oil refinery back there, and he came back.
When you say split, you don't mean like separated, you mean he'd left town once?
Yeah. She was pretty upset. He walked around the house saying words every so often, and he was gone. She was real happy to see him come back, so. It didn't feel like he was just off checking out work. It felt like he had come back.
So you said your mom had been seeing a psychiatrist?
Yes.
You said psychiatrist, not psychologist. So does that mean she was on medications?
Yes.
Do you know what she was on?
No, in Los Angeles she's on 2 picker-uppers and 1 put-her-downer, some calmer-downer or so, but I have no idea what.
Did you ever know her off her medications?
Did I what?
Did you ever know your mother off? Well, she,
well, yeah, because she had a mental breakdown.
Obviously, sometimes, usually the type of people that try to go without them, especially when they're younger.
Oh, I have no idea what she did. I never talked to her.
But she had a breakdown once?
She had a mental breakdown, right. She had a bad case of post-traumatic stress syndrome before it was popular. And since she wasn't in the service, it was... Rush hour traffic?
No, junk mail.
No.
Spam. Can you tell me more about that?
Tell you more about her?
You said she had a breakdown once. I assume you were old enough to remember it.
I do remember because she was screaming at me at the time.
Oh, she was personal with you. Was she institutionalized, or did she go away for a few days?
I don't know. I was pretty shocked afterwards.
Yeah, of course. Living with someone with mental illness is always difficult. Then when you were 8, you moved to Los Angeles.
Yes.
You guys all moved to Los Angeles for your dad's job. That meant your mom had to leave her family behind.
Right.
Did she talk about that?
She was not happy.
Is that a big deal?
Yeah. was a big deal. But
So I was asking you earlier if she saw her family and her mom, her mother, Louise Lindenmacher,
Kenny,
Louise Kinney.
Lindenmacher, Kenny, but yeah, Kenny, because she dropped the Lindenmacher. Well, grandmother came over while I was at school often, like almost every day for coffee and stuff. But she would leave before I came home from school. And the excuse every time was that she had to get home before traffic started. So, and we also had a nanny for my sister, so, for a while, and I don't...
A live-in nanny or
No,
just
for a day nanny.
Did your grandmother drive or did she walk?
She drove.
Oh, she did.
That's why she was encouraged to leave before the rush hour traffic started.
Right. Because I remember you guys had a Model A growing up.
Or T.
T, but it belonged to your mom, but your dad drove it on most occasions.
My dad completely drove it all the time. That
Well, she said she knew how to drive.
Oh yeah, she had driven it before all the time before. But I think their agreement was that when they got married, she would put he would put her through her last 2 years of school, and then she would put him through his last 2 years of school. So when he put her through school, well, she didn't stop school. She just kept on going, and she got married to him, and he had to stop school and get jobs and support her for a while. And then when it was his time, when we went to work, he got the car pretty much. So, and that might be why my grandmother was coming over, is to get mother rides around to the store while I was in school. I have no idea what they did together. I just know I saw her occasionally leaving. Grandma! No, not now. If she has to leave, traffic's going to start. So,
which is funny, to get traffic for going 2 miles. It's not very far.
Right. But I think that was after the breakdown too, and I think I don't know. It was strange. So I got piano lessons for a while, but the piano teacher had come over, and since I hadn't touched the piano, I mean, I couldn't play with it after my father come home because I couldn't bother them with it. And I would go to school in the morning and come home and take a nap until a couple minutes before my father got home, and then had dinner and basically went back to my room again.
Yeah, I think the nap thing is one of those etiquette things out of the Proper Housewife book. I think you're supposed to have a little nap to be refreshed when your husband comes home.
I don't know if she took a nap or not, but I was supposed to stay in my room for hours, every day. And I was really trained to take naps. I think maybe after my mother's breakdown that she had more nursing skills and parenting skills. I think I was a good patient. And she made sure I had my food and water on time, and I was in bed and had a comfortable bed, and was checked on occasionally, but yeah, I think I was in junior high school or high school when it suddenly dawned on me that I was being raised as a good patient rather than as a daughter.
Okay, so do you remember the move to Los Angeles from Oakland? Did you help pack?
No. My father sold the Model T, which was a strange in the rest of the relationship, and bought a Pontiac car that would make it from Berkeley to Los Angeles. And that proved to be a huge mistake as far as my mother was concerned. Because, like Shelley kept her Saturn when she married you, even though it was an expense, the Saturn had been her car of freedom, and I think the nun was really right in saying that was her first big object of buying at her for her independence and things. And so for my mother it was the Model T that she had won a grant for college that she bought the Model T out of. That was her. She was a straight A student in high school. She got straight A's in math, English, and language. Math, English, and something else. Science, maybe? And so she won a really good scholarship for college, enough that she could go to the really expensive elite girls' school that had horseback riding and all kinds of things. And she really considered that, and I think she got accepted when it dawned on her she didn't have the clothes or money for extracurricular activities and she wouldn't fit in. So she went to Berkeley instead and bought the Model T. And that way she could live at home with her grandmother or with her mother, and she had the Model T. So the Model T was her symbol of high success. And when he sold that to get another car, she was not happy and demoralized. I think on his part it was a good move. He said the car might not make it down to Los Angeles. That since he had his whole family in it and he was responsible for it to get to work and back, and the only person who had driven it for a long time, he had felt like he was making the manly decision of getting the better, upgrading the transportation. But and he eventually bought her another car, but she never drove it.
In Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. And the only time she drove the Pontiac was once in a while when we were driving on mountain roads, going up to the grandparents. She would drive on little twisty dirt roads very slowly for a couple of hours and seemed to enjoy it immensely, and then give it back to him and not drive anymore.
But the grandparents were only a couple miles away.
From Berkeley, from Los Angeles, we drove up to see him.
Oh, so he... Wait.
So we were in Berkeley.
Okay. He sold the car to move to Los Angeles.
Right.
But then, how did they have it from Los Angeles to drive it up to Berkeley?
We had the new car.
Do you have both cars?
No, he sold the Model T.
Oh, so she drove the new car up to...
She drove the new car sometimes in mountainous areas.
Okay.
Not in Los Angeles, but in twisty back roads.
Right. Open roads, farm roads. So do you remember the drive down to Los Angeles when you moved?
Yes, I remember parts of that. My sister and I both were in the back seats. We had some room because, as you pointed out earlier, with me being 8 and my sister being 5, to sit in 2 bucket seats in the front of a Model T, it would have been very inconvenient.
Yeah.
And there was no back seat to the Model T, there was just the rumble seat, so it would have been very inconvenient. I guess you could have left the rumble seat open and put stuff in it, but it wasn't a huge area because they had the seat in it, so. And it wasn't metal, it was a convertible, so it had a canvas top coming over, and it had a windscreen that opened up like this and came back down.
Mm-hmm.
And the sides were kind of a plastic stuff, and it was cloth canvas inside here that deteriorated. I know when Halloween somebody threw a tomato in the window and hit the side over here, and they got it cleaned up pretty much, but next time it rained good and the next really sunny day it had tomato sprouts all on the side of it. So we was right that that was not the car to drive down to Los Angeles, but
So
I don't know how they could have gotten around that.
you guys moved to Los Angeles. Did you stay in an apartment before your dad bought the house?
We stayed at Lafayette Hotel
Lafayette Hotel. Where's that?
in Long Beach, right by the Rainbow Pier. Just
I don't know Long Beach that well. So.
right by the Pike and the Rainbow Pier. And a wonderful place called World Juniors, which is a barbecue place, and they had a big statue of a man whose arm would take the rotisserie and go like this mechanically.
Huh.
It was all glassed in and lots of barbecue things on there. And we ate there a couple times.
And then they bought it. Did they buy a house pretty quickly?
No, it took her about 6 months to find a place that she would like.
And were you going to school
During
summertime, or 6 months? Just 2 months
6
of
months
summer.
of no school. No school. Nothing. And then they put me in school in the 4th grade. I guess it started. Put me in the 4th grade and I went to school.
4th grade. And so you moved into the house
On Van Ness.
in Venice. And attended Washington Elementary, I believe it's called.
No,
there.
Washington High School, Century Park Elementary. And I went to Bret Harte Junior High, which was 3.5 miles away, so we got bused into it. And then Bret Harte. And the Inglewood High School was a lot closer, but at that time we were in Los Angeles, and the city line came down our block and over for 3 blocks and back up, because behind us was all acres and acres of cornfields, and across Imperial was all was strawberry fields when we first got there, and then they converted to golf course, and then they built apartments and things in it. I think they put wheat in it once too. I think it was strawberries and then wheat and then golf course. But that area with the strawberry fields in it, a lot of it belonged to the interred Japanese, and when they came back they had to pay back taxes on it, so they held the land for them while they were in the interment, but then they had to pay the back taxes on it and they couldn't afford that, so it gradually got taken away from them and made into a city golf course and then sold properly for apartments and things.
I didn't know that.
I was 8, so I don't know how much of that is actually there, but that's my understanding of it.
So you moved down here at 8, and you had no friends because you moved cities at that point. You started
Right.
school. Now there's a church a few blocks away from your house.
There was church a while away from my house, and I wound up walking up to it and to all the churches within walking distance and checking them all out. And I liked the Brethren best, so I went there almost every week, probably basically every week. And then when it was time for me to get baptized, I walked to every church within walking distance so I could walk a lot farther and checked them out. And some I went to several weeks in a row until I decided again that I really liked the Brethren Church better, and I went back to that one and got baptized, became a member of it.
Oh, how old were you for that?
17. 16 or 17. And I started going up to Camp Laverne when I was in the 6th grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you moved there and you went into the 4th grade, and then 2 years later you started.
I was enough into the church that I could ask to go to camp, and that was funny too, because I didn't ask for a lot of things. I wasn't supposed to ask for a lot of things, but she did send me to all of the Girl Scout camps and church camps I wanted to go to. So, but then I'd come back from camp all really excited about camp and stuff, and have my sleep bags and everything, and want to talk to her, and thinking I love her very deeply, and you know, Mommy, guess what? Just put your things in your room and get ready for dinner, and I'm busy. And that was the end of the conversation.
Huh. Sixth grade.
And junior high and senior high.
So did you make any school friends?
I did. I was outside of the Century Park School was right close to our house, and I don't know what I was doing out front of the school, but there was this beautiful girl with really long hair. This beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life, and she was swinging around a stop sign. Sixth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, maybe the start of sixth grade. And I talked to her. Her name was Susan. I'll think of her name eventually. But she and I got to be very close friends, and her parents were working, so she was at home after school by herself, and I could go up to her house. We'd get out of school at 3, but I had to be home by 4, so we'd go over to her house and play sometimes, and then I'd be home. And I couldn't do it a lot though, because she was taking ballet classes and acrobatic classes a couple days a week, and she was in Girl Scouts. And eventually her mother took me to watch some of her acrobatic classes and ballet classes, which is phenomenal. And I joined Girl Scouts with her. And then we're the oldest 2 girls of our troop, so when we went on to junior high, you have to wear your brownie uniform to school, and when you go to junior high, it changes to green skirt and white blouse and sash on it. And we're expected to wear our uniforms to the Girl Scout meeting, which means you had to wear it to school. So you had it on in time for the meeting. And that was kind of complicated because the rest of them all had their Brownie Scout uniforms on. But the next year, when the rest of the troop got to be in junior high school, they refused to wear the uniforms to school, so we didn't have to anymore either. And that, for me, was a great trip because they went camping in the Barton Flats area every year. And we rented a cattle car one time to take the whole troop up to Yosemite for a week. And a cattle truck with the sides on the side of it, the wooden sides. And so we put our food right behind the cab, and then put all the sleep bags and stuff up over it.
Yeah, I've got no idea what a cattle truck looked like then. They've been in the cattle trucks.
Yeah.
My life, all my life, which looked like big semi trucks with gray aluminum sides with round holes in them.
Yeah.
I imagine a cattle truck when you were a kid.
This had wooden sides on it, more like a wagon. So it wasn't as big as this. It was probably maybe 12 feet long in back. It had wooden sides on it. It was high, like these are. But, so I put our food down in sleep bags on top of them so we could lay back against those. Or there was 2 redwood benches that were lashed to the wooden sides we could sit on. Or there was foam or something on the floor that we could sit on. So we kind of moved around. Because we didn't need seatbelts or anything, of course. So. And it's funny, I don't remember stopping for gas station, for bathroom breaks or food breaks or gas breaks or anything on the way. It was, they put a tarp over the top of it so we had shade, but it was open on the sides. It was a great trip. It was really fun.
Barton Flats, and that's at the bottom of the mountain?
Well, that was to go to Yosemite.
Oh, you went to Yosemite as a kid?
From Los Angeles.
Oh,
in the back of the cattle truck.
Fun.
It was great. Yeah, and it was funny going up with Sebastian and Amy because as we drove in and we drove around Harbin, I'm going, that's where we camped out, right there where the river goes like this. And on a tour guide, on a horseback ride, I guess, Amy said, Linda thinks she was with a Girl Scout troop right in this area. And the lady said, oh yes, we used to have all the camping kids, all the Scout kids in that area. But since then they've closed down a lot of the camping places and put all the campers basically together in 3 campgrounds, so all the rest of it can return to natural. But it was funny to see the ground not as a campground anymore, and to remember.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Drew me down in the river and the fire falls right there. Because she said, yeah, we moved the campgrounds out. And I said, that's where the fire fall is. And she laughed and said, well, we haven't done fire falls since the 50s. Oh.
Oh, so you saw the fire falls. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's neat. It's a pretty cool experience, I understand.
Well, she described how it was done, too, that they decided, yeah, neat tourist attraction things, you can take a picture of it, put it in a brochure. And so he hired some kid that lived on top to build a big fire, and they'd have the rangers, somebody put the wood there so he could build a big fire when he got out of school and let it burn down to coals. And then right after dusk he pushed it over. And that was Fire Falls. So as an adult hearing about wasting all that wood just to push it over a waterfall, and all horrified. But at the time I didn't know how it was done, and yeah, it was kind of neat.
Yeah, I don't know if it's waste. I mean,
I don't know.
It's wood. Certainly brought the whole focus on forests and. I mean, Yosemite, if we didn't have people that were interested in Yosemite, we probably wouldn't have the park system we have.
Right.
Which influenced the entire world for the park systems, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, and I really hope with this government spending, looking at our budget, that they do not cut any of the park system, because if they do, it'll get sold to private developers, just like John Muir is afraid of, that since we live in this great land, we should be allowed to see some of the best and most wonderful spots of it. It should belong to the people.
So you went camping with them. That was in grade school or junior high that you went up there?
Well, she said that was in the 50s. I graduated in 1960, so I'm not sure if I was in. We've probably been camping a few times at Martin Flats, and we're doing something bigger and better, so I would guess I was in junior high school. We were all in junior high school by then. Because we had to plan out menus and buy food, and whatever's in the truck was what we had to eat, you know, but however we planned it. We had 3 patrols, and that was, each patrol had its own food and its own system of doing things, and that's what we stuck to.
You say this